Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Six Rings Miami Hurricane Show. I'm David Eversole, filling in tonight for Jazz Santana. Back with some of the usual suspects. I got Paul Austria up here on the left, and down here at the bottom, I got Danny Gillette. And we're excited to be back with you to talk about some Canes football. It's been way too long since we've had some real games to preview and break down. So glad to be back. What's going on, fellas?
How you doing?
We're
Doing
chilling.
good. Good to be
Finally,
back.
Canes football again.
Yeah, excellent. So it's been a pretty eventful week leading up to the game. So we got a lot to go over here. So kind of wanted to dig into some of the X and O's and really give everybody who's watching a good look at Duke and what to possibly expect in this game. Duke's coming into the game at 2-7 off a real bad loss to Georgia Tech last weekend, and obviously Miami. This will be their first game in 3 weeks. So want to start with you, Danny, and see what your early keys to the game were for Miami, particularly on offense. What do you think they're going to be able to do to get out early?
Well, they definitely need to get into a rhythm. They haven't played football in 2 weeks now, so although that may seem a little bit simplistic, 2 weeks off can hurt a team's flow and hurt a team's rhythm. They were really performing at a high level before the cancellation, and so it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of pick up where they left off. I wouldn't expect anything drastic. You never know. I mean, this team has shown that they can do things, offensively. I just hope that the defense can continue to. We talked about bend but don't break, and I hope that they can do exactly that against Duke.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty optimistic game for the Miami Hurricanes defense. Duke leads the nation with 25 turnovers, and particularly the quarterback position with Bryce there. He's ACC high, I believe, 13 interceptions. Paul, what do you think the defense is going to be able to do against pretty lackluster Duke offense overall? They got a couple decent running backs, but I think Miami's defense can really set the tone in there. What are you looking to see out of that group?
No, for sure. I think that they're going to pressure Bryce. I mean, I'm not really concerned about Bryce's accuracy, like you mentioned. He's only thrown 9 touchdowns versus 13 picks. He's only completed 53% of his passes. Uh, their passing game is okay because of that, but like you mentioned, they're dead last in the nation in turnovers. I think you said 20. I think it might be around 30 actually from what I've seen because I think they had
Yeah.
four the last game, and overall, I mean, the running game. I think you got to watch Duke's running game because they've been running it relatively well. They have two great running backs, Deion Jackson and Mateo Durant. I hope I'm saying that right. And Durant's averaging 6.6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye on him. And he runs very low to the ground. I think he did decent against. I think they played. He did decent against North Carolina and Georgia Tech. But I think that for Miami's defense, like you mentioned in particular, this is definitely a game where hopefully we see the turnover chain more often instead of that, occasional one pick at the end of the game in garbage time. Not garbage time, but like, when they try to put the game away and then really like hopefully we see it like 3 to 4 times. I'm guessing, like you mentioned, David, this is not, I mean, they've lost the last two meetings against Duke. But obviously this is a way different team. This is not the crap show that was last year when they went 6-7. This is definitely a very motivated team, a hungrier team, even. And I think it definitely helps that Miami is getting a lot of guys back. Not just on
Yeah.
defense, but overall.
The rest help, definitely.
Yeah, I mean they've had 3 weeks. Just hopefully we just don't see a slow start by the defense. I wouldn't want I wouldn't want Bryce to get any confidence. And Miami's secondary, I mean, it's up to interpretation on how you view them, but I feel like they're definitely better than Georgia Tech's secondary, for sure. Let's just hope that but it's not going to name any names, but guys turn around when they play the ball, and I'm hopeful about this game. I think the only thing that really worries me about this game is that it's a 3 week layoff, and obviously Miami hasn't looked the cleanest, or we can't really say we're comfortable with how Miami has played off a bye week, let alone 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
And and not only just 3 weeks off, but also it's they I'm assuming some players have spent time with family. And I mean, especially when they're COVID protocol, they're not practicing. On top of that, and I don't want to say this is a factor, but it is going to be cold as hell this Saturday at least by Miami standards. We're blessed with
Yeah, people were
80-degree
freaking out this
weather.
week. It was 50.
Yeah,
I know it's
exactly. And people,
28 up here, so give me a break with the
Yeah,
yeah,
freaking cold.
I went to
God.
Top Golf with my friend yesterday, and he was wearing sweats, and it was like 60 degrees, and I'm like,
That's
and he's
shorts
all
weather for
bundled up.
me. So.
Yeah, no, same. I was wearing shorts.
Yeah, I was in
But
flip flops by like 10 o'clock. I mean, this is a nice change actually. But yeah, I think
exactly.
this is the game where Miami kind of puts it together on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and really sort of makes a statement. Like you said, they're coming off a big break. They're going to be rested. They're getting healthy. You're going to assume you're going to have Brevin Jordan out there and all the weapons available to Derek King on offense. So I'm really looking for this statement game from Rhett Lashley to really kind of set the tone to close out these last couple games before the bowl season gets underway, and kind of you got to quickly recapture momentum after so much time off and with such little time left in the season. So it's a big game from that standpoint for Miami because they still have a lot to play for. Where Duke, they're just kind of looking to be the antagonist and upset Miami. So I think Miami has to really come out with a lot of focus and not be too hyped up for the game, but they've got to definitely they can't sleepwalk early either. I'd like
Mhm.
to see a couple of big shots from King over the top against that Duke secondary. They got a decent pass rush. They actually have two of the top sack guys in the ACC, and they have a couple weapons on the outside in the passing game. But Bryce takes a lot of chances, so
Mhm.
I think Miami can really force the issue on early downs and put the quarterback for Duke in uncomfortable third and long situations and kind of make it one sided. But let's break down a little bit of what we think Miami's going to be able to do on offense, Danny. What are you looking for from Derek King and the Miami offense in terms of game plan and some strategy for matching up with Duke?
I'm looking for the wide receivers to continue progressing. It's not that they're not doing anything; it's that they have been doing things lately, and it's really been great to see. You look at a guy like Mike Harley; he was playing really well, and has been playing really well over the past couple of weeks. I would love to see the running game get more involved and continue to get involved because we're at the stage of the season now where we're talking about potential postseason play and bowl games and this and that. And there's going to be no easy opponents from here on out. Sure, Duke is maybe not the best, but they're going to be playing hard. So I would just like to see everybody kind of get involved and kind of reset after this 3 week layoff, just so I feel comfortable that they would be ready to go when they have to possibly face tougher opponents moving forward.
Yeah, Duke, second worst in the ACC. They give up right at 200 yards per game on the ground. So I think that's definitely something that's going to open up the whole offense for Miami. I think they're going to pretty much be able to dictate with tempo early and hopefully establish a couple drives, get some momentum, get a few first downs, get some points on the board early, and kind of put Duke on their heels a little bit. So I think for Miami, you just got to come out and play a clean game, really execute. There's going to be possibly a little bit of rust with the time off, so I don't want to see anything maybe too cute, but I do want to see Miami come out on offense with the tempo early because Duke's been playing a regular schedule. They're coming off a real tough loss, so they're going to be a little bit salty. I think you got to kind of really nip any momentum that they might establish early to hang around and get up early. That's going to be a big thing. So, Paul, what else do you see that Miami can take advantage of on either side of the ball, offense or defense? What are some of your other keys to this matchup?
Well, this is probably like my fourth or fifth week saying this, but I feel like this is the game where they get their running game going again. As you brought up, they're second to last in ACC run defense, and the 95th in the nation. So hopefully it's. I mean, the running back situation has been kind of weird all week. We'll get to that question later for sure. But I think that especially with I think people wanted Don Chaney to get more carries last game. Cam Harris is still kind of fighting his or refinding his footing again within the flow of the offense, and I mean Knighton's been great for them as well. But this is definitely a game where this could kind of get the momentum of the running game going again. Like what we saw against UAB in season opener. So hopefully that can happen. And I think also Danny brought this up where hopefully this is a game where King can definitely go to his receivers more often. I mean, Harley is definitely working on a lot. I mean, Harley's been playing great the past few games. Same thing with Pope and Wiggins. Um, but I mean, I feel their defense is still no fluke because you have four guys on their roster on the defense who have at least five tackles for a loss, and one of them, well, the leader at least in defense is defensive end Chris Rumpf. He's only 6'3", so he's a little undersized for a defensive end, but he has 11 and a half tackles for loss along with 8 sacks. You have the linebacker Shaka Hayward who has 7.5 tackles for loss, and one of their safeties Marquise Waters is actually pretty solid on defense. He has 6 tackles for loss along with 5 pass breakups. So I think that I do want them to come out aggressive. I want them to execute, and because I also feel like I'm worried that mentally this team is kind of disappointed that their chances for the ACC championship are kind of diminished. Like the system kind of worked against them, and just hope that they still got to come with a mentality that they still have something to play for, and there is. I mean, it's okay. Let's assume that they don't get that spot in the ACC championship. Well, I mean, they still have a chance at a New Year's Eve bowl game. There's also
Right.
that, and I think, and it's still obviously on a competitive mentality, you just want the team to want to dominate and win, any game in front of them, and plus they still have that big game against North Carolina, at least tentatively next on the 12th. So that's hopefully that still happens, but we'll see. And yeah, I think that Miami shouldn't wait too long to be aggressive. This is definitely a game where we instead of seeing like wait till the fourth quarter to kind of really get the gears going. Like they need to just be all out through the entire game because Duke is really not that great of a team, and it's just like the perfect uh, setup for them to kind of I guess put a nail in the coffin. Instead of having to play from behind for 3 quarters.
Yeah, a lot of close games. I mean, Miami's won 4 straight, obviously, after the loss to Clemson, but they've all been tighter than expected games, pretty much. So Miami sort of has a tendency to let teams hang around a little bit. And I think this is a game where Manny Diaz really has to kind of light a fire under the team and get them out early, focused and sharp and disciplined. But touch a little bit more, Danny, on what you think the mindset for the team is going to be with the change in the ACC with Notre Dame and Clemson and Miami's likelihood of getting to the ACC championship game being diminished. What do you think the mindset's going to be going into the game?
Well, look, um, having been in a locker room on a football team or part of a football team, when you have a competitive disadvantage that you know of, your spirits are definitely a little bit hurt. You definitely feel like the odds are against you, but at the same time, you have to play hard and you have to finish out the rest of the season. If I was Manny Diaz and the coaching staff, I would take this opportunity and look at it in terms of recruiting. Right now, Miami is a one-loss team. If they somehow don't take these next 2 games seriously, or if they come out flat and lose, a 3-loss team looks a lot worse than a 1-loss team. So there is still a lot to play for. I can understand where the players are frustrated for sure, but you just have to play out the rest of the schedule and control what you can control. It sounds very cliche, but that's all they have to do. They have to focus on winning out, however many games that may be. We don't know with all this COVID stuff yet, and then take it from there.
Yeah, apologies there. I got a 5-year-old bombing my shot there in the background, but you got to do what you got to do, man. It's home studios from here on out for a while. But you mentioned recruiting, and I want to throw this over to you, Paul. Bring us up to date. There was some recruiting news this year, which wasn't really unexpected, but we did get a big decommitment this week from Savion Collins. So give us a little bit of an update on that and some other recruiting news and notes that you have.
So yeah, the big name was Savion Collins, who, if you guys don't know, he's been committed for a while now. I think he was one of the first ones from Palmetto to commit to Miami. I think he's been committed for about a year
Yeah.
or
Early
so.
verbal, yeah.
Yeah, a few months ago, I think people were wondering if his commitment was kind of shaky. Just because, I mean, I think spots were limited. I think contact was limited too. I think he even mentioned in one of the interviews that Miami hadn't reached out in like a month or something. But I guess he did reaffirm his commitment, or at least he coaches got back in contact with him, and then he reaffirmed his commitment. But now he's at a point where he has decommitted again, and I he hasn't really said much on it. But I'm kind of curious because this could mean a few things. I mean, one maybe. I mean, it was nice that they had him on in the fold because he was also Leonard Taylor's teammate and he plays alongside him on that Palmetto defensive line. I think I think they made it to states already, but with him out, now I'm wondering, okay, did Miami kind of kick the tires with him just because they have a shot at these other big fish in the pond right now? Like, they're still in contention for Terrebone's Mason Smith, the 5-star defensive tackle out of Louisiana. He's gonna be a tough pull because I think he has what, Alabama, LSU, Florida, and Georgia, along with Miami is top 5. I'd like to
LSU's
say,
down, but they still keep a lot of in-state recruits. So
oh
yeah,
yeah, they still have the 3rd best class in the nation, and they're playing pretty crappy this year, which is amazing. But I think
Wow.
just
Yeah.
it's still the branding of LSU, and there's still a pipeline to the NFL. There's also Terrence Lewis. He actually just decommitted from Tennessee last week. He's definitely, I think Miami is talking to him. I think is that it's compared to years past. People within Miami, the program at least, don't leak out as much info to the media now. Kind of like the secret sources or whatever. Uh, Outside that Jason Marshall fiasco. But I'm curious because now they have 4 spots open. So is like I said before, like, is it because they actually think they have a realistic chance at Mason Smith? I mean, I know Lewis is definitely a possibility, but it's still a long shot with Mason Smith. I mean, they're still recruiting a few cornerbacks, Markevius Brown, who's, I think he's committing next. He's committing very soon. I'm not sure if it was an All-Star game or not even any All-Star games, but he'll be coming really soon. And then there's Covington, the kid out of Texas, who they just offered a few weeks back. So it's kind of, and I think and also one name to keep track of is Anthony Hunley. I mean, I told you guys about it in our chat where he just decommitted from LSU. He used to go to Booker T, and now he's at IMG, and he's definitely, I think he's a 3-star prospect, but from what people have told me, I think even Blue told me that he is a really, really good defensive tackle. Like I think LSU doesn't recruit a lot of 3-star guys, but for them to want him was a big deal. So, and he was a former Miami commit I think last year, more than a year ago. So, I mean, it remains to be seen if they kind of want him back in the fold, but it's a lot of, I mean, we have like a little more than a week until the early signing period. So it's kind of something to keep an eye on for sure.
yeah, these are unprecedented times, obviously, with the pandemic and everything else going on. The recruiting world is up in air, and I think it's affecting a lot of the decision making of the kids. They're taking a little bit more of a cautious approach to some of these life impacting decisions that they're making on where they're playing their future. You look at the Jake Garcia situation, and he's been moving around, and there's just so much uncertainty, game to game. And to really look at this upcoming recruiting, even the 2022 class now, they're going to maybe wait and see what's happening this year, who's staying, who's going. And that could also have an effect, who declares early, who might stay another year. If maybe Derek King stays another year, what could that do to Miami? And somebody like Tyler Van Dyke, who's kind of been waiting in the wings for a while for his shot. So there's so many variables in the world of recruiting. You're dealing with the emotions of kids, the family dynamics, the coaching dynamics, and everything else. And I think just going back to the ratings, the star ratings are so subjective. I mean, a high 3-star recruit versus a low 4-star recruit. I mean, you're really splitting hairs. I mean, you're talking about like numeric formulas of a few decimal point. I mean, it's not a big difference in a lot of these guys that are in that close together range. A lot of
Yeah.
you can tell there's a drop off obviously from to put 5 stars on a recruit is a big deal because that's kind of really
Cream of the
putting
crop.
them on the map early, and there's gonna have to be some substance to back that up. But I think you get into the 3 and 4 star ratings a little bit, it could be more subjective. And you look at a program like LSU, they might be looking at recruits for a fit to their program. And same with Alabama. And, I don't know what Mac Jones was as a recruited quarterback, but within their offense, he's perfect. He's not a Tua level recruit, but that offense isn't missing a beat. And they look like the best team. Want to talk about maybe some early college football playoff predictions for a minute. Danny, who are your Final Four teams you think that are going to make it?
Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, but I have an issue with them being at 4 since the Big Ten started only a couple weeks ago, and I'm not sure about another one. There's a couple.
Notre Dame?
No, my bias might be showing there in terms of
It is. It's very bright.
Dame, but
Yeah.
Notre Dame, yeah, Notre Dame.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 4 as
What
is,
about-
basically.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
could Florida sneak in there?
Oof.
Maybe.
Who's-
Chime in,
Maybe,
producer.
but I don't see it.
There he is.
I wanted you to go there.
I was waiting. I
wanted you to.
I can't bring you in until like 22 minutes along, man. You can't
I
bother.
mean, listen. Let's be all honest here, right? Like Ohio
Mhm.
State shouldn't be in them. I'm sorry. It's nothing against them. They might have the greatest talent in the country, in the nation, in the world, right? But when you only have that amount of games, I'm sorry. Your league decided to not play, and then to come back and say, yeah, we're gonna play a month afterwards, and all of a sudden all this stuff is happening. Listen, I'm sorry. It is what it is. And how fair will it be, right? They get in. They've played, 4 or 5 less games mostly than everybody else. The bodies are going to be fresh. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here. It's not like they changed head coach.
Mhm.
It's not like they have something happened to their staff per se, right? It's the same team basically as last season with Justin Fields at the helm, which we know on a bad day, he'll throw 4 picks, but he'll have 6 touchdowns. Like, to me, Ohio State should not be in the top 4 no matter what. Now, when you speak about Florida lost to a team, Texas A&M, which currently is ranked ahead of them.
Mhm.
The only way Florida sneaks in is if they sweep the table. We win at Tennessee on Saturday, beat LSU, which mind you, Florida wins on Saturday, though they would have already clinched the East. So next week's game at LSU doesn't even really matter.
Mhm.
But in a sense, it does, because you still want to be going undefeated, heading towards Atlanta when you probably are going to face Alabama, right? So if you beat Tennessee, beat LSU, and you beat Alabama, there shouldn't be a question that the SEC champion, if it's not Alabama, if it's Florida, should be in the top 4.
Yeah.
There's no other probable discussion we should be having in every other team. Nothing against Cincinnati. It's a great story, and they feel great and whatever. But come on, let's be honest here. It's SEC, right? So
Yeah.
that's all.
So it could be theoretically 2 SEC and 2 ACC teams. Could that possibly happen?
What happens to Alabama? Is Alabama?
That's what I'm
still
saying.
number
If
one?
Alabama loses SEC championship to Florida, do they still
They
make
drop
it?
out. Yeah.
They
Wow,
should
right?
drop out. But the committee, we've seen them do this before, where but we still think that Alabama is still a great football team, and they kept them in there that one year, and they won the national championship. So, you never know
It'll take a
what
lot
the
for
committee
them to
decides.
not include Alabama in the final rankings.
They want to include Alabama in there.
Exactly.
I'm pretty
They
sure
want-
they're like, Jesus, Notre Dame, no. Come on, Notre Dame. Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah,
I agree, Manny. I agree.
yeah,
Florida's in
I
a tough
wouldn't mind seeing
situation.
Notre Dame out of there. Yeah, I mean, we got a question here from
Do you have any
Anthony
news?
Paul. Do you have any news? Go ahead.
Do you have any news? There's going to be any reclassifications like there has been the past few years with the players? Oof. I haven't heard anything on that front. Honestly, overall recruiting has just been very shaky, just because I think they extended the dead period all the way to like April. So guys won't even have a
Correct.
chance to visit, or there won't be any formal contact between players and coaches past even the regular signing day. Which makes things very complicated. And it's not even all prospects are feeling safe enough to even go out, visit campuses on their own dime pocket, and they probably won't even see the coaches. It's really
Yeah,
we're in a weird time with recruiting because
yeah.
it's a dead period. But I mean, coaches will find a way to reach out to guys. Obviously, I think I forgot who predicted. I think it was Ivans or Gabby that predicted that there's going to be a lot of decommitments. In this time frame right now, up into early signing period, just because coach players just want to make sure that they're making the right decisions. But in reality, this isn't. This is still a very ill-informed. They're still all kind of ill-informed, just because there's some players that haven't even visited the campuses of the schools they're committed to, and they live across the country or just something like that. So I have not heard much on that front. As far, I mean, there's obviously players on Miami and even Florida, where they're thinking about kind of saving this year and playing another year, like the Eric King, for example. But as a reclassifications, I haven't heard much on that front. Yeah.
And you look at this period of time, and I think there's going to be advantages for some of your top tier programs just with logistics and infrastructure and the amount of resources that they have during this time that some of those smaller non-Power 5, non-SEC, ACC schools have,
Exactly, baby.
just by sheer money fiscal capabilities that they're going to be able to throw more resources at the problem. So I think there's going to be a lot of unseen competitive disadvantages for some teams and advantages for some of the blue bloods this year. And you kind
LSU.
of, yeah, but I mean, a lot of teams. I mean, Notre Dame's benefiting from it. A lot of programs are kind of getting different ends of this deal. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out and the mindset of some of these recruits moving forward. So just want to go around real quick and get some game predictions for the Duke game, and we're probably going to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes. So even let Manny, if he wants to give us something and
Hey,
give
can I
us
be honest here? Can I be honest? I don't remember the last time either the Canes played.
It was 3 weeks ago when they played Virginia Tech. I just looked it up.
Tech 25-24.
Jeez. Virginia
Yeah.
Tech. And I did that post game with Jazz for 30 minutes until David showed up
Yes.
for 5.
Yeah. I may have
It
had
was
a
that
few
one,
that day. That was a late one, yeah.
No, listen, I think that you know what? Let's all joking aside. I think this is probably the longest time that the Nar King has had time without playing ball during a season for sure. And I listen, I say just unleash it, man. Go out there, young man. You only have a couple of these left. We don't know what's gonna happen, if we're gonna make it to the title game or not. Just go out there and ball out, man. Do what you do best. Go look at film just like you have been doing, and go out there. And the way you went out against NC State, the way you went out against the other teams that you just absolutely just took care of. You played really well as a collegiate athlete. Just go out there and give it your all. And the defense is going to show up at some point. So listen, it's not like Duke is a Power 5 ACC conference school. So let's just be honest here.
You're a bad team. Danny, what's your prediction?
34-17 Miami. I don't think Duke's offense is going to be able to do a whole lot. Rice is not very good, and neither is that offensive line. So I think that's going to play into the hands of the Miami defense. I think King is going to have another great game, and I expect the running backs to show up as well.
Paul.
You guys know what the odds are, or what the betting odds are, by the way? I have no
Probably
idea.
Miami's like by 2 touchdowns, yeah.
Okay, so I think that considering all 3 weeks off, among that, I think that Miami wins 24-10. I don't feel comfortable picking Miami in the blowout ever. I think it's a slightly slow start, but I think because Duke is a weaker opponent, then they do play better. Yeah, I'm still gonna go with the norm, 24-10, at least like what's been happening lately, and they still pull it out. Continue to be cleaned up, but they pull it out.
Yeah, Miami 14.5 point favorite. So I'm going to go the home around here. I think this is the game where Miami puts it together on offense and defense. They're going to be rested. I think Manny's going to have them sharp. He's shown that we can win the game out of the bye this year for the first time. So this has been like a super bye. But I think they might struggle a little bit early just to kind of get their feet under them. But I think by the second quarter, they really start to separate from Duke. And this could be a pretty lopsided game. I'm going to go with Miami 38-17. So we're going to wrap it up on that note and want to thank everybody for watching and listening to the Six Rings Kane Show. We'll be back for pregame on Saturday, and we'll catch you guys then. Thanks so much.